Hello there, everybody, and welcome to a new wonderful build for Age of Wonders 4. This time for the Oathsworn Culture, which is featured on the Ways of War DLC, which has been recently released. So we're going to play here with a variant of these fellas, because this culture comes with three different variations for the Harmony path. The Harmony path is basically the adventurer path of the Oathsworn. I'm going to guide you through all the moving parts of this, but this build is basically a ranged build with heavy support, heavy friendship with everybody, and it's stupidly powerful. Except for it doesn't have dedicated tanks unless you hire them from somewhere else, because you can be basically friends with everybody. So, as per usual, we are going to get started with our racial and cultural traits, move over to the tomes, and then over the military parts before I talk strategy. So, trait-wise, I went here for the combination of Arcane Focus because we might have a tier 3 Archer unit, which we treat a little bit bad in this build, but it still works charm, don't you worry. And I went for Keen-Sighted in combination to that, so we have a big bolster on the accuracy bank, because it's just powerful when you're going for a ranged build. Cheerful is amazing. Could be replaced with the one that lets your units level faster. I like them both. Cultural wise, the Oathsworn, in case you're not familiar with it, they all follow a certain oath that they go for, and our oath is to be friendly with people, I guess. So the basic gist of it is, as long as we do things that follow our oath of harmony, we gain devotion points, and as long as we are devout to our path, our troops get to heal once per battle, which is pretty powerful, and our cities are more stable. The more of these wonderful things we do, the more devoted we are to our path. It's the basic mechanics of these guys. The Harmony guys get this sustain mechanic the more devout to their path they are, and they also are really good at managing free cities. This is what this build focuses strongly around. We are amazingly good at being friends with people, and this build abuses the hell out of it, and yeah, it's a little bit absurd how powerful it went. Now, trade-wise, I went for Chosen Uniters because, you know, if we are going to be friends with everybody, we're going to go all in. It gives you an extra Whispering Stone, it gives you extra vassal income, and it gives you better Rally of the Liege units. That's amazing. I love that. With the secondary one, I went for Keepers of Knowledge, as this will give you a wonderful bonus in befriending people, which is really good because you want it to be. And All-Seeing gives you the ability to generate knowledge for all the Whispering Stones that you put into cities, which gives you a nice edge right from the beginning of the game. You have a lot of Whispering Stones because you are Chosen Uniters +1, and you already gain extra knowledge. This is strong from turn 1. I love it. So this is what we're running on the basics there. So tone-wise, you will go for a combination like this. I went here, tier 1, with Evocation. I went all into the Battle Mage side of this build. You could also dive deeper into the archery and start out with Pyromancy. I will talk about this variant in a hot minute, but I went for the Astral variant. It's basically another variant of the build. They're good for their own purposes. So Evocation gives you powerful Lightning Focus, which is just amazing for all of your battle mages and supporters, and you field quite some. Fulmination for that battlefield AoE, very valuable because your culture naturally lacks that. Lightning Blades enhances your melee, you have a lot of melee, it's wonderful because of that. And we get to summon a evolving Shock Trooper with the Storm Spirit, which is also good against archers. This is a really good combination, and if you keep them alive until the very end, they shine by being really good tier 3 shock troopers that can teleport behind the enemy lines. I love these. Evokers are at first glance useless, but they aren't. The thing is, you have already a racial tier 2 battle mage, but they are single target. And the evokers, they have a really nice AoE skill. That's what's making them really useful for this build, and that's why I love having them. If the enemy is swarming you with tons of low tier troops, the evokers shine. If you are against higher tier troops, your cultural troops shine. You have options here. It's good. And Lightning Torrent, yeah, it's a good map nuke if you have much mana to spend. What's not to love about it? Also, Channeling Towers. They are really good for this build due to many reasons, but it's generally good to be able to build conduits because, you know, it's part of quests and it can be useful for many ways. The other tier 1 we're leaning into is the Tome of Faith. We already have a tier 2 supporter, which is quite nice, but they only have a high cooldown AoE healing spell. The Tome of Faith circumvents all of these problems by just adding in Staves of Mending, which gives your supporters a touch heal skill. It's short range, yes, but it's a free action and it's powerful. You also gain the Chaplains, which field single target heals on a distance with a higher cooldown, and they also gain Mending Touch, obviously, but they also gain Bliss, which allows you to boost up your quality troops. It's a really, really good unit, and synergizes here again. Here again, you have a single target and an AoE variant of your troops, which is really good, because that means you are able to adapt to your needs. Faithful Whispers is just made for this build, basically. We gain faster legions with free cities. I didn't study it here because I was already besties with my cities right from the get-go, but it is good if you're applying on contested maps. Really good. Wrath of the Faithful becomes also a long-term investment because we happen to have quite a lot of faithful units due to the tome selections in the long run. Convents are really cool because they generate knowledge and mana, and it happens that we are good at city stability with being Oathsworn. It's really cool. Abbeys, what's not to love about the fact that you can build a science and a magic province improvement wherever you need it, so your cities can be plotted down wherever you want to and be useful. I like that. Tier 2, I went for Mayhem first, because Mark of Misfortune is one of these wonderful spells that gives your units misfortune, which gives your enemy fumble chance, and it applies onto mages, supporters, and archers. So all of your ranged folks are suddenly debuffing the enemy's damage output, which is amazing because we have no native frontline shield units. So this negates one of our baseline weaknesses. Much so. This is really, really powerful. Fumbling means that the enemy will not only hurt themselves, but also lower the amount of damage they deal. Curse of Misfortune, 2 hex radius misfortune application, pretty nice, but the Gremlin is what I want to focus on here too. They are summonable. Tier 2 skirmishes. Behind you makes an enemy instantaneously flankable, which is, you know, really insane. And it also cancels out defense and retaliation modes. And it is usable as a ranged attack at each and every turn. Gremlins are so amazing because they can disrupt the enemy's defense lines. You can use that to disable enemies' shields, formations, and whatnot. Gremlins are really good disruptors, and they're also hard to kill, so really enjoy the Gremlin. Inside Revolution gives you the ability to spawn infestations, and you know, you gain devotion from clearing infestations. So you start making infestations to better your. It's just bonkers. So Confusion is a really nice siege project as it displaces the enemy and might end them in an unfortunate spot, but it's not that much of a big deal. The other one that I went for is Scrying, with a notable recommendation towards summoning, because we have a lot of different units with a Rally of Legions, which makes Tome of Summoning surprisingly well working. But I went for Scrying because I'm playing a ranged build, and Scrying is just really awesome under these circumstances. Guided Projectiles allows you to ignore obscure any terrain problems. It's lovely as it influences all of your ranged attackers. You have Mental Mark to just make sure that a lot of enemies will suffer hard from your ranged attacks. You also get a tier 3 summonable battle mage, which is what I personally love, as summonable means you can directly transform mana into troops at the front line, which is amazing because, you know, losses don't mean and don't weigh as heavy then. And, well, Scry Enemy and Tower of True Sight, I think they are pretty underwhelming. This trio here, though, is pretty powerful. If you don't like that lineup, Tome of Summoning also proved to be a really, really worthy recommendation here. Tier 3 comes, and Amplification too. Honestly, Amplification was the main reason to stick to the relatively underwhelming Tier 2 Astral Tomes, but it pays off so massively. Amplified Arrows, you only have one Tier 3 Archer benefiting from that, but since they are Tier 3, they are going to utilize that to its fullest. That's pretty amazing, because it makes them AoE attackers. Why would you want that? In case the enemy feels a lot of resistance and or other options against magic attackers, or stuff that's good against battle mages, for a variety of attacks, basically. But it's not that important. It's mostly that it upgrades your tier 3 archers. But we're more after Frenzy Focus here, which upgrades our battle mages and supporters massively, and Astral Blood, which will make our battle magic that we cast a lot, because we have a lot of useful spells, get our critical hit chance up, which is really, really cool. We also gain a new battlefield nuke, the Amplification Pylon, which is, you know, we have a lot of damage spells. Don't underestimate the power of that one. Amplify Minds is again pretty easy to pull off, because we have a lot of city stability natively, so our knowledge income is really massive on this build. And Resonance Fields, yeah, yet another one of these wonderful conduits. I'm going to show you why it's amazing later. So Resonance Fields is going to be really cool. Tier 3 also comes with another Order Tome for us, because we have the affinity to do so. I personally vote for Sanctuary, but any of these other Tier 3 might be proving to be worthy if you want to pick them up. Sanctuary for me personally, because Anointed People is just really cool at making your dudes obnoxiously difficult to be inflicted with statuses. Spirit Resistance is also nice. But it's Keeper's Mark that I personally love. You have a lot of throwaway tier 1 crappy units on your roster, and Keeper's Mark makes them obnoxiously hard to kill. It gives them Faithful, makes them cheap, and remember that nuke out of the Tome of Faith that we have. Faithful units now increase the damage. It's easy to have a lot of Faithful units. I like that. We also have Salvation, which instantaneously heals somebody, and Consecrated Domain and Healing Spires give you really tasty defenses on your home turf. But honestly, Keeper's Mark is what I've been after mostly, because it makes your frontliners really obnoxiously hard to kill. I mentioned the low tiers, but it's also really stupidly powerful if you happen to have tier 3 and 4, whatever these unit types come along in the Rally of the Legions, for example. Tier 4, I would personally aim for the Tome of Supremacy for this build, as it gives you Supreme Magic, which makes your battle mages go bonkers. It gives you Exemplars, which finally gives you insanely powerful shield units, which is exactly what you were craving the entire game for, and all the other items here out of the list are pretty amazing too. You certainly could optionize for Tome of Prosperity if you want to. The Prosperity Dragon is amazing, and all the other upgrades here too. It influences the Grace mechanic, which gives you a time-delayed heal, and you basically attach that time-delayed heal to everything. And yeah, it is one wonderful tome, but if you don't want to go that way, the Tome of Astral Convergence gives you a nice nuke library as well. And I have a hard time deciding on the tier 4s, but I'll leave it up to you, as the game is basically failed for me already pretty one with the entry into the tier 2 realm. So, lineup. We start out very weak. Your build is really the weakest in the tier 1 area. You have Honor Blades, which are honestly pretty decent units. They're fighters, so they don't have too many different innate abilities, but they come with the ability called Defensive Strike. The amazing thing about this is it only requires them one remaining action point to bonk somebody insanely hard and then go into defense mode. This is pretty cool, because that means they are not only dishing out a ton of damage, with a decent cooldown, mind you that. But they also go into defense mode, which means, yes, they are tier 1 units and die fast, but they do their best to do it as slow as possible. Their downside is high maintenance, but I should also mention here that we're playing this path that gives us healing whenever they fall below 60%, so it makes them even harder to kill. So it's really a nice unit. They're a little bit costly though. The Soren Guards are your low cost spear units. They apply Sunder Defense by default, which is an amazing trait, but it's basically their only trait. They don't come with any other ability other than that. They're as bland as a Polon unit can get. The annoying part about them is they are really useful because of the fact that they soften up troops, but I personally would vote for Honor Blades if you can't afford them because their bunk is really powerful, and the Sworn Guards, I don't know, in the long run they don't really have anything going on for themselves, while the Honor Blades at least can burst hard before they die, and once you have tomes available they don't even die that easy anymore. That's a pretty good combination. The Wayfarers are weird scouts, and that meaning that they have road walk, and they are retreat experts. They can always run away, which is pretty amazing. So don't you auto combat them if they get caught. Send them away and move them manually on the arrows on the opposing field of the enemy, and they'll have a guaranteed success at running away. But that's all what they can do. It's a pretty fun lineup though. So your cultural tier 2s are where you want to get as fast as possible. Seal bearers are your native battle mages. They come with a normal attack that cannot miss if the enemy is inflicted by the Seal of Resonance. That seal is a single target nuke with a pretty decent range, and it eats up all of their action points, which means they can't move for that turn where they want to use it. This makes these guys really amazing single target nukers. I really love what they do. I mean, this is for a tier 2 unit, it's an amazing burst single target wise. And since this can't miss afterwards, they dish out a nasty amount of damage. But like I said, single target they are, and therefore they have their downsides. But that's what your evokers are good for. Mark of Misfortune, like I said, synergizes here really decently as it destabilizes the enemy as well. The Vow Keepers are your supporters. They come with the native ability to purge enemies' buffs. I love that. This is so nasty. This makes sure that you always get to hurt the enemy, no matter what they try to do, if you have these guys on your lineup, which you should. Vow of Purification is the exact opposite. It is a negative status cleanse, and it applies again status protection. Mind you that we're playing tomes that give us more status protection. Your troops are really well protected against statuses. Vow of Healing is a big, fat 1 hex radius heal, but it has a low cooldown and it eats up all of their actions, which means Vow Keepers are really good healers, but they are clunky. That's why I love putting Mending Touch on them. This gives them so much more mobility back. They can move forward, touch heal somebody, and still blast somebody, or use a Vow of Purification, and then do the big fat healing the turn after. But without the Mending Touch, I personally felt like they really were missing something. They don't have much more to talk about, except for you can transform into cavalry if you put a racial trait onto that. So, this is your native tier 2 roster. I already talked to the Evoker and the Chaplain when I was talking about tomes, so they don't need any extra explanations here. The tier 3 unit that you will get is the Peacebringer. Peacebringers are really interesting units, as they will eventually gain a amazing ability once you are fully decked out, which, we can shut them down. We can shut a single enemy down and burst them. You need to get there, but this is really cool. And one of the reasons why you don't need that much of an enhancer on these for them to be useful. Their baseline attack will apply Misfortune, so we kind of use them as a low-key disruptive supporter here. And they have a line shot, which is, it has a decent damage and only requires 1 action point. This is what I personally really like about these. They are also cavalry, which means they're highly mobile, and once you have stacked out your Vow they are amazingly powerful with that Arrow of Harmony. Because I don't know, I love the combination of nuking somebody hard and then forcing them to stand still for a turn. It's basically like a nuke with a stun. It's pretty cool. So, strat-wise, I've already mentioned a few things. You want to get out of the tier 1 roster as quick as possible. I was playing hero-wise with Mage as the starting hero because I wanted to add in some AoE. With the new way that heroes work, I wouldn't recommend a mage again. I would recommend a ritualist or a defender for this lineup mostly. Ritualists can spam summons, which is amazing because you don't have any native frontliners, or you use defender heroes to produce those frontliners for you. Whatever goes. I personally found the champion amazing for this build because of the command ability, which gives you another action, which is, especially when you're in the early game, really good because tier 1 units really are lackluster in many aspects. But if your tier 1 units at least can act twice, it gives them quite an edge. And that's why I went for one reason for the champion. Also, champion lets you print out units relatively easy while maintaining a good stability in your empire. But seriously, your tier 1 realm is where you should try to get out of as quick as possible. Because once you have unlocked Seal Bearers and Wow Keepers, you have quite an artillery to back up your measly front line. Also, Storm Spirits and Gremlins are really, really meant to be used. Your basic idea is to try to have something in front of your dudes that is allowed to die. That's why it's really good if you have summons going on, hence the ritualist recommendation. And then let your backliners fire on out whatever they got, while your supporters try to keep the stuff that is allowed to die alive as long as they can. That's your basic course of action. You want to explore as much as you can early on, because you want to discover as many free cities as you can. The Rally of Allegiance is where this game starts to get nuts, because as you see, I have access already to tier 4 units. I just need a little bit of gold to get me that flippin' exemplar out of a tier 4 tunnel. I'm running here around with tier 3 troops that I shouldn't have access to. I already have Inquisitors. It's amazing. The Rally of Allegiance, you shall not sleep on this. You basically are made to utilize this to its strongest. Pick out the best things fitting to your build and just add them into. Whatever is coming along your way and looks utilizable, go for it. Overall, you should really try to get yourself these tier 2 troops as quick as possible, like I said, and then start adventuring as much as possible. There's two ways for this build to eventually win the game. If you go for Gold Wonders, it's pretty simple. You just mass up troops like a madman, conquer the gold seals, and wait out until you win, and defend with a roster of hard-to-kill, low-tier melees if you need to print them. If you have any other true ways and means to do so, feel free to, because you have vassalized cities and whatnot, and you back it up with a cheap roster of ranged attackers that are obnoxiously hard to kill. Found cities next to that, and you're golden. The other way that you can win by going for a more of a conquest path, warfare and everything, goes a little bit different than other cultures, because you're not allowed to make war, right? You're losing devotion if you start wars. You don't want wars. So you settle in their faces. What I would do here, for example, if I wouldn't win via wonders, I would try to fetch in a city somewhere like there, possibly, with a big fat army, and wait until they declare war on their own. You provoke the enemy by being expansionistic like a really, really obnoxious person. You just invest your Imperium to expanded governance, and off you go. Or if you want an expansionistic victory, you just integrate the vassalized cities and vassalize whoever dares to declare war on you, and continue to play like that. Either way, so stupidly powerful, because you get access to two strong units way too early with this build. This is my personal verdict. The debuffing strategy and the nukes and some of the abilities here fell a little bit underpowered. But overall, the ability that you can heal yourself like crazy and that you can just pick up whatever you want to and keep it rolling with this build is wonderful. Just keep in mind you want to filter out tier 1 eventually and replace it with high tier troops for your main army, and those low tier troops just keep them in your back hinterlands and use them if you have to poke out something that spawns somewhere, or if the enemy dares to attack you, you can buy yourself some time. These low tier troops, they will eventually find their time to explode in the enemy's faces, don't you worry, just expand them if you really need the money. By the way, money, your economy is really, really powerful, and I want to go last but not least here over the School of Contemplation. You generate just more knowledge for conduits and research posts, and remember what we're building like crazy with the tomes that we got. So yeah, you have a really strong suit on knowledge, being friends with everybody, having access to all manner of different troops. You just have to find something that complements your strategy because your front line is crap. I can't sugarcoat it. You don't have any. You need to acquire that outside of the world, but this build is good at doing so. So, that's that. Thanks for watching. Drop me your comments down below. Leave me a like, leave me a subscribe, leave me a wish for whatever other build you want to see for Age of Wonders 4, and I hope you enjoyed it. So, have a good one. See you soon.